719. Reputable mortgage lenders are a thing of the past. Well, of course they're not, but they're not because of some new rules.
Believe it or not, there is now a regulation in place that heightens the standards of mortgage originators. You know, the men and women who give you the mortgage. Officials say it's the only way to weed out the crooks, the shysters, the bad guys.
One of those people who gives us the money is with us, Vince Ingui, president of Levere's Mortgage, located in Wilmington, Delaware. Understand you were fingerprinted yesterday.
I was.
Why?
Well, I've been in business for myself for 6 years, and I like to think of myself as not being one of the crooks, the shysters.
What do you do exactly?
Well, I own a mortgage company, so technically I'm a mortgage broker. The guidelines, which are part of the new SAFE Act legislation, which was passed in 2008, now require mortgage brokers to have fingerprint cards done, 20 hours of continuing education done, as well as a credit background check. So, in my mind, very welcome. I mean, 4 hours in the car yesterday isn't necessarily productive, but I think it's a must. You know, you need barriers to entry for certain folks, and you need reputable, credible people that are in positions
Get our trust
like mine.
back.
You got it.
And you guys, many people, a home is the largest investment they will ever make. It could either enhance or destroy their credit for the rest of their lives. Are you surprised that all this stuff wasn't in place? It seems kind of common sense. If I'm going to ask you for $500,000, for $1 million, even for $45,000, that you would have to have, I mean, you have to have a license to cut hair. You know, I always say that. It seems foolish to me that this wasn't in place years ago. It's
mind-boggling, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I started a mortgage company when I was 24 years old without any experience. So what does that tell you about barriers to entry? You know, fortunately, we did the right thing, and we've continued to do so. But think about all those ex-cons and felons and shysters that were in the business. You're talking about people with criminal records, people with foreclosures and bankruptcies on their own credit report. How could you, as you said, give sound advice, Jen, to someone on one of the biggest transactions in their entire life without having a solid background?
So when I go in to get a loan, a mortgage now, what should I be asking for?
Well, very good question. You want to ask for your loan originator's license number to make sure that they are a licensed originator and they have, in fact, completed their education requirements.
Don't be embarrassed to ask for that.
Absolutely not. And with this, you know, as a mortgage broker, we feel as though we're taking the brunt of this, but in a good way, in my mind, because now the bank employees don't have to, you know, meet these high standards. So it's almost being flipped, where the mortgage broker now has to achieve a much, much higher standard to operate their business. So more than likely, you are dealing with the true professionals these days, as opposed to years in the past.
We asked for the number. What else should we be asking for?
You want to ask for, don't be afraid to ask for how much loan volume they do, their experience, the lenders that they've worked with in the past. Those are all very good signs.
You know, and how does someone know? You give me a number, loan volume. What's a good number?
Well, it all depends where where someone operates. If someone's, loan volume, I would say maybe units that they close in a given month. That's probably an easy. Someone who's closing one deal a month probably isn't an expert or has enough experience that I would feel comfortable with. Whereas, flip side of that, someone who has done 5 to 10 deals per month for years, would give you the opposite.
Should there be more rules? Should we do more?
I think, you don't want to cut off the ability to operate and to run a business. We're in a very difficult economy. Let's make no bones about it. You don't want to cut off the small business owner and the opportunity, the outlets for those that need funding. Because if you make it very, very difficult for the mortgage broker to operate, you're going to limit yourself to just the big bank.
I think they're good ideas, because you got to get the general public's trust back, so we'll come in and see you.
No question about it.
Again.
Were you a bit anxious when they were I think, in a transaction like this, there should be a healthy amount of anxiety, quite frankly. Were you anxious when they fingerprinted you?
Well, fortunately, I don't really have a criminal background, so that's
speeding. You don't know what kind of things
you don't know what
at.
comes up. I had it done before years back, and everything came back clear. But I bet you there are a lot of folks out there that hey, listen, I got a bad ticket when I was 21 years old or something like that, or when I was in college, that may come back. And I'm sure there's going to be some cases where it's just not fair. But I think overall, generally speaking, as we said earlier,
seems worth it.
It seems worth it. I think it's very welcome.
Thanks for coming in. I'm glad you weren't jailed after
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Glad you're legit.
Yes.
We're going to have a background check for guys.
We're going to need a blood sample from you.